On August 18, 1993, 12-year-old Sarah Police. Retired Trooper Timothy Blaze, among the first responders, noted the striking absence of witnesses. No one had seen an abduction. No sounds of a struggle were reported. Yet Sarah had vanished without a trace. Authorities quickly ruled out the possibility of a runaway. What confronted them was clearly an abduction, one that demanded an intensive and immediate investigation. In the days following Sarah Wood's disappearance, law enforcement launched an unprecedented search effort. Her father's church in Sauquoit quickly transformed into the command post, a central hub where investigators, troopers, and volunteers coordinated their response. The search soon stretched across an estimated 600 square miles of rugged terrain. Helicopters hovered above tree lines. Search dogs combed fields and wooded paths, and officers worked side by side with neighbors desperate for answers. Authorities initially held hope that Sarah might still be alive, perhaps lost in the countryside. The Wood family remained present throughout these long days. Dusty, still processing the sudden absence of his younger sister, joined his parents in maintaining a visible presence. Bob Wood balanced his role as a pastor with the profound task of keeping faith steady in the midst of despair. Frances Wood, refusing to give up hope, made public appeals directed at Sarah's abductor. Her work immediately provided police with partial license plate numbers. Despite a snowstorm that blanketed the region, officers worked rapidly to track down the vehicle. Soon, they located the truck and identified its owner as Lewis Lent, a handyman with a minor criminal history. The discovery was unsettling. Inside Lent's vehicle, investigators found Rebecca's backpack, along with a gun, duct tape, and rope. These items made clear that his intent was abduction. Detectives from New York quickly recognized that Lent's methods bore disturbing similarities to Sarah's case. Believing this could be the long-awaited connection, they traveled to Massachusetts to question him. When confronted with Sarah's missing poster, Lent's demeanor was flat and emotionless. He gave little away at first, but under questioning, he admitted to attempting Rebecca's abduction. His arrest brought an important breakthrough. For investigators desperate for leads, Rebecca's bravery had opened a new path. Her ability to escape not only saved her life, but also exposed a man who fit the profile of someone capable of abducting Sarah. For the first time in months, detectives had a tangible suspect, and hope surged that Sarah's case might finally move forward. As investigators pressed Lewis Lent in custody, the atmosphere inside the interrogation room shifted from tense silence to chilling revelation. Detectives placed a Bible on the table, urging him to speak the truth. Over hours of questioning, Lent began to unravel, confessing to crimes that extended far beyond the failed abduction of Rebecca Sevar. He admitted that his compulsions had driven him for years, describing in flat tones how he prowled neighborhoods and highways, hunting children while armed with duct tape, rope, and weapons concealed in his vehicle. His words painted a disturbing picture of a man who prepared for abduction as though it were a routine part of his life. Lent's first detailed confession shocked investigators. He admitted to luring 12-year-old Jimmy Bernardo away from a Pittsfield movie theater in 1990, where Lent had been employed. After gaining the boy's trust, he abducted him, strangled him, and left his body in a remote area of western New York. The accuracy of Lent's description, including details only known to law enforcement, confirmed his guilt. This was no exaggeration or fabrication. It was the horrifying truth of a child predator who had already killed. Eventually, questioning turned towards Sarah Wood. At first evasive, Lent began to disclose unsettling knowledge about her disappearance. He mentioned her bicycle, noting the broken chain and its oversized frame, facts investigators had never released publicly. He described her clothing and demeanor in ways that convinced cases. Yet the proceedings took an unexpected turn. When Lent saw Sarah's family sitting in the courtroom, he abruptly reversed his decision. His refusal to plead prolonged the process, heightening the family's distress and extending media coverage. Within days, however, Lent changed course again. This time, he entered a guilty plea, formally admitting responsibility for Sarah's murder. The judge sentenced him to 25 years to life, a term designed to keep him imprisoned for the rest of his natural life. Media outlets closely documented every stage of these proceedings, portraying Lent as manipulative and calculating. His shifting confessions and erratic courtroom behavior magnified the suffering of Sarah's parents, Bob and Frances, who had already endured years of uncertainty. For the family, each legal maneuver underscored his cruelty, yet his final guilty plea provided a measure of accountability, and even if it did not reveal the location of Sarah's remains. The conclusion of Lent's trials marked the end of formal proceedings, but not the end of the Wood family's anguish. While justice was secured within the courtroom, the absence of closure remained an enduring wound. Although Lewis Lent was convicted for Sarah Wood's murder, her body was never found. This absence of physical recovery has remained the central wound in the case, prolonging uncertainty and leaving questions unresolved. Over the decades, investigators made repeated efforts to confront Lent in prison, traveling nearly 20 times to question him in hopes that he might finally reveal the truth about Sarah's final resting place. Each meeting carried fragile hope, but Lent used the encounters to manipulate, offering partial truths and deliberate falsehoods that led only to frustration. During these interactions, Lent shifted explanations frequently. At times, he claimed to suffer blackouts that erased his memory of critical details. On other occasions, he invented an alter ego he called Stephen, suggesting this persona was responsible for his crimes. He even fabricated maps and burial locations, sending investigators to remote areas that yielded nothing. Each false lead drained resources and deepened the despair of those determined to bring Sarah home. In 2013, Lent expanded his confessions by admitting involvement in the disappearance of 16-year-old Jamie Lusher. He described abducting Jamie, murdering him, and disposing of his body in a lake. Yet extensive searches produced no remains. The lack of tangible evidence echoed Sarah's case, strengthening investigators' belief that Lent had committed additional murders beyond those confirmed. His history of deceit, however, made it impossible to separate fact from fabrication. Authorities came to view his behavior as a continuing pattern of psychological gamesmanship, designed to assert control even while incarcerated. For Sarah's family, this manipulation inflicted profound emotional harm. Her brother, Dusty, continued to recall her vibrant personality, her laughter, her love of music, and her innocent joy during childhood. Decades later, he still carried vivid memories of her singing, reminders of the life interrupted so suddenly. Their parents, Bob and Frances, endured years of unresolved grief, clinging to the hope that Sarah's body might one day be located. Without that discovery, closure remained painfully out of reach. The community of Sauquoit also carried the weight of Sarah's disappearance. Residents who had once searched fields and forests never forgot the case, regarding it as a defining tragedy that reshaped local awareness of vulnerability and loss. While justice had been secured in the courtroom, the lack of recovery left a void impossible to fill. Lent's refusal to cooperate fully ensured that Sarah's story remained unfinished, a cruel reminder of his capacity for manipulation. Even now, the enduring mystery continues to haunt both investigators and family members, leaving open the question of whether the truth will ever fully emerge.